Hello, everyone, and welcome here. My name is Andrea, and today I'm here with big news. That I want to tell you that Charmed Kubeflow 1.6 is live. I think it's been live actually for a few hours, but I won't say it because it's not on me. Tonight, at least tonight on my side of the world, I think it's middle of the day for our other two speakers. I'll have Natasha with me. Would you like to tell us a
Hi
bit about
everyone.
yourselves? Yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm Natasha. So I'm one of the Keepflow engineers. I joined Canonical around a year ago. My background is mostly in web development and QA, and I moved to Canonical and Keepflow because I wanted to build tools for devs. So nice to meet all of you out there.
Welcome, Natasha, and thank you for taking the time. I think we'll have some fun tonight. And then we also have Andrew.
Hi, yeah. So I've also been with Canonical about a year. I'm also on the Keepflow team as an engineer. My background, I had a little bit of data science infrastructure and data science, actually, doing the data science work. And if you go back further, then I come from more of a mechanical engineering background.
I'll ask a question here. How did you end up doing Kubeflow then? It's just because I know it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was working in data science, I found you could be a full-time data scientist or you could be a full-time data science infrastructure person. And if you wanted to have a life, you could only choose one. And I figured it would be, I like the infrastructure, so I thought it would be helpful to try and make that a bit easier so other people can focus on the data science itself.
That's super cool. And I'm Andrea. For those who don't know me, I'm the AML product manager in Canonical. I have a data science background as well, but I've been passionate about AML, so I decided to switch roles for a bit. I'll move further, and I'm glad to announce that today we actually released Charmed Kubeflow 1.6. It's 3 weeks away from our beta version that we released it in order to gather feedback. And I think some of you might know that we actually had another live stream with uh, Dominic and Daniela back then. And because of your good feedback, we decided to run another one and see how it goes and give you more context and more technical details. As usual, before we get into technicalities, you can ask your questions live in the chat and we will try our best to answer them. For now, I'll go to the roadmap of the upstream project, which follows Charm's Kubeflow upstream. So during this release, the team focused on pipelines, training operators, Kserve, Katib, and notebooks. Am I missing something here?
I think that's everything.
That's great. And that's how we will switch to the first topic, which is Kubeflow pipelines. And we have Andrew here, who's the expert on this. So what are these Kubeflow pipelines?
Yeah, so Keepflow Pipelines, I almost think of it as like the second thing people experience in Keepflow. It's really a way of orchestrating several things, I guess a series of tasks. So maybe you want to fetch some training data, you want to train on that data, you want to, or maybe you before training you also want to pre-process it in some way, and then afterwards you've got some metrics you want to apply. Kubeflow Pipelines, it's built around trying to make building that workflow easy and making it reusable, so that rather than writing something that does all four of those steps, you write something that does each one, and then Kubeflow Pipelines helps facilitate passing the data between them, and meaning that your fetching data could maybe be used for multiple pipelines without you having to write it from scratch every time.
So basically, it helps users to work more efficiently in their projects. Am I correct? If I oversimplify it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's trying to help you to do something at larger scale than just you working in your own scripts or notebooks, and to do it in a way that's both easy to scale up and also then easy to reuse code and maintain and make your life a bit easier.
So what are the big news in the latest version of Keepflow with the pipelines?
Yeah, so I think a couple of big things that are really pipelines in general right now is going through a pretty good transformation. The first one on the slide there is first class support for metadata, and by that I mean the working group for pipelines is focusing on making sure that metadata around your workflows, your training, your predicting, that sort of thing, that it's really something you get for free or very easily, rather than something that you have to work at. In the past, you could have managed your metadata in a pipeline that you wrote, and that's something feasible. But they're trying to make it so that there's some good defaults that just you get for free without even having to know it. And if you do want to add some extra things of your own, you also have those facilities.
And except for that, I can also see that there are improvements around inputs and outputs.
Yeah, so another thing that they're focused on is essentially adding strict typing to data passed between steps in a pipeline or components of a pipeline. And so in the past, you might have a fetching data step that would get some data and it produces it in whatever format. And then you'd have something else that might consume data in a particular format. But it was difficult maybe to know that those were the same format. And it tended to be more something you found at runtime rather than at compile time for your pipelines. So they're adding some extra features and making it a bit stricter how one defines these pipelines and the components, so that it's easier to detect incompatibilities sooner and make it easier to write these.
It is basically a feature that improves the user experience and allows and enables those who don't have a lot of experience with Kubeflow to get started. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And that really that kind of feels like a bit of a theme of what they're working on right now. And it goes into the third point on this slide, which is simpler component authoring. So I think in general, the Kubeflow pipelines, it's developed over the past couple of years, and they've like everything, it's evolved a bit. And in that evolution, there are some patterns that have stuck and some ways of doing things that have stuck, and some that have been improved, and the first ones that they found, are kind of being deprecated. And it got to be a bit complicated because a lot of these things that were maybe not best practice still were possible things that were useful or usable in the SDK. So one of the focuses right now, where they're doing kind of a major refactoring of the SDK you'd use to write pipelines and the backend, they're deprecating and changing the patterns. And we can see some examples in this slide, and the details don't matter, but basically what we see is there's a lot of syntax changes maybe around how you would define a component or how you would define the inputs to a component, that sort of thing. And it's all really around making it a simpler experience for the coder when they are writing, authoring one of these pipelines.
Okay, so I see that one of the focuses that the pipelines had was to improve the experience and give more clarity, such that people can get started easier without being experienced ML engineers. I think that would be like the short answer to this, right?
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to put words in the developers' mouths, but that is kind of the message I'm inferring from the actions I'm seeing, is that they're really trying to make that a better user experience, and a better user experience for those coming new to the project, as well as those who have been here for a while.
That's very cool. And before we move to the CI/CDs I'm curious if Andrew, you could help us also with the main difference between the beta and the release, because we did mention that we are 3 weeks away from the beta. What are the main differences?
Yeah, honestly, there's not a ton. There were a few bug fixes upstream. I think there were some changes maybe in the Jupyter Notebooks UI, the dashboard, and there are a few small bugs in either in the Charm code we wrote or in the things that are upstream. But honestly, it's pretty similar. It's been pretty consistent from when we released the beta till now.
Okay, this is great. I see a lot of other questions coming up. I'll get started with the CICDs. Thank you for asking questions, and at the end of it, we will take even more of those. So, Natasha, I think the stage is yours because you've been the master of disaster with the CICDs. What is this about, and what are Charmed Kubeflow CICDs?
Yeah, sure. So Keepflow team is still pretty new in Canonical. So after we have built a lot of the operators for the Keepflow applications, now we're running into more issues or challenges in supporting all of the releases and deployment of all of these charms. So that's what we focus on in this release. Made a lot of changes where we have more tests for our charms, like both in unit and integration tests, and then more seamless charm release. So like putting the latest changes onto the latest Edge channel, and also publishing those charms easily using GitHub workflow. So like promoting them from latest Edge to like less risky channels like beta, like we did last time.
I'm curious here before we move further. I think this is more intuitive, but why would a user choose stable and why would a user use Edge? I'm just getting started with Kubeflow.
Yeah, for sure. So for most people, latest stable is what you want to aim for. It's battle tested. We have gone through rounds of testing, and it's safe for you to use, and you won't run into most problems. But if you're people who are more adventurous and want to test out what we have released lately, then you want to go for the latest Edge, and you can see what we've been working on lately.
This is a very good input, and also I want to highlight that if you're testing our Edge versions, please give us feedback on our Git. We are happy to get it, and we want to address it. We've been working hard on Charmed Kubeflow, and we aim to make it a good product so ML engineers, or the other way, so data scientists don't get frustrated anymore. Right, Andrew?
Absolutely.
I'll go back to the main benefits of our CI/CDs, and I can see that we tested a lot. But what are actually the main benefits, and how do we enable them?
Yeah, so the number one benefits is obviously faster operations. Most of our team can spend a lot less time doing these operation maintenance work and spend more time on building features. And also obviously enable this quick release, like upstream only released yesterday, and we're all able to follow today. Second is obviously confidence. With more testing, that means we have better understanding of how the app works and how our operators work, and we're sure that they work with like small bundles up to like the full Kubeflow bundle. And we've also added some changes into our GitHub repos, where now we have release notes for each of the revisions, so you can see what has been changed and what revision that change is in. So for all users out there, you have way more visibility into what we're doing and what bug fixes or whatnot has changed, and you can choose what to use. You can choose to use a newer revisions, or if anything doesn't work for you, you can always roll back.
This is very nice. I think here, I mean, I might be wrong, but I would like also to add that we can easier track changes, and this is something that helps also developers. Am I correct?
Yeah, most definitely. At least for us, like we can develop a lot faster because we have confidence in the charms that we have built.
Thank you very much, Natasha, for this. And before we move to our third topic, I'll take another question, and then I'll take most of them also at the end. I'm curious, this is an interesting question that looks really in the future on what other apps will Charm Kubeflow be integrating with? Andrew, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, so I think one of the things maybe we'll focus on in the future would be helping people manage models or manage data, that sort of thing. And so that is one of the topics that we're gonna focus on in more detail in the future. It's maybe not. I can't say specifically we would want to use a particular product. I think it's something that we're still looking into, and we'd appreciate feedback if anyone thinks that there are products that we should be integrating it with, that we'd really like to hear it. But trying to make maybe the life cycle around machine learning workflows a little bit easier, I think that's something that we're definitely looking into.
This is great. Thank you very much. And now I'll move further to our third topic, which is observability. Why do we need observability? I'm curious here.
I'll take it. So whenever you make any big deployments, you always want to know what is happening within. And previously, with our Kubeflow deployment, you don't know too much. And the only way to access more metrics is to use like kubectl. But now that we've integrated with Grafana and Prometheus, you have much more insight into what is happening in your deployment.
So we have more insight of what is happening. As a user, I have more insight on what's happening in my deployment, or
It's more
actually...
for the sysadmins and whoever manages the Kubeflow deployment. You'll be able to see more metrics about each apps, and like maybe how many notebooks are being deployed right now, or like how much resources are being used, and you can allocate your resources accordingly.
I understand. Thank you very much for that, Natasha. And I will move further with the future. But before that, I did realize that I skipped another question around public cloud. So we have a user who wants to host the dashboard with the public cloud, so he or she can access it with the browser as the way to surf on the internet. Is it possible, Andrew?
Yeah, so I guess I don't know if they're specifically asking for a public cloud or just to be able to access it publicly, but both would definitely be possible. I'm not an expert in exactly how you'd want to do it, but I can say for sure that it is possible. I've worked places in the past where you would browse just like you'd browse anywhere else on the internet. You would go to the dashboard through public means. It would be, if you're doing it, say, on a public cloud, you could probably find a similar, like a walkthrough describing that public cloud, or for that public cloud, how you'd expose any other application. So if you're on AWS, I would expect you can find a way to expose, say, an endpoint from your Kubernetes, something you host on your Kubernetes cluster in AWS to the open internet, and that's where I'd kind of start as a way to figure it out.
This is great. Thank you for answering this. And now I invite you to dare to dream. And let's take a step back and think, where do we see Kubeflow on one hand and then Charmed Kubeflow in the future? And I want both of your opinions this time. So who wants to start?
Sasha, why don't you go first?
Oh, I have more thoughts on where Charmed Kubeflow should go. Obviously, I'm more involved in the CI/CD part of it. So for me, I really want to have more scheduled testing. We want to do the same CI/CD process, not just for the charms, for bundles. And also just have like a better out-of-the-box user experience. So we should work more on our docs and tutorials and have some like presets, Grafana dashboard. So once you deployed it, you basically have like all the information you need on your hands.
Cool. I agree with you. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I think maybe highlighting a few things on the Kubeflow, like the upstream community side. I think pipelines, for one, is a place that there will be some more change. They're really doing, I'd say they're in the middle of a pretty important refactor. And so we should see a lot more coming from them, and by the next release. I'd also say the Katib or AutoML folks and focused on training operators as well, that they've been releasing a lot of really interesting things, that things like early stopping methods or other ways of training models that have really made Kubeflow and their tools more effective and maybe better at using resources or giving you more options for what you want to train, that sort of thing.
I see here a question very related to to this answer. Do you have any insight on what the next release will be focusing on? Or do you know what's the process on maybe suggesting other features for the next
Oh,
release?
well, I could at least say anyone listening now, if you'd like to have an insight into this process, join the community meetings. There's community meetings. I can't remember if they're every week or every 2 weeks, but there's some that are more North America EU friendly, some that are more like Asia Pacific friendly, and they're like, we're interested in having everyone there. It's a really nice, open, friendly community where you could see for yourself what's happening upstream or get involved, or any level of involvement from fly on the wall to contributor is appreciated in those meetings. And to find those, if you head to the Kubeflow documentation or the Kubeflow main page, there's pages there for the community to get the meeting invites.
I just shared the link on how to contribute. I want to also highlight that we as Charmed Kubeflow, if you test it out and you have feedback, just share it on our GitHub or on our discourse from Charm Hub. I'll be sharing the links as well right away. And because we discussed a lot about Kubeflow and Charmed Kubeflow, but we never really touched on what's the difference between these two. Who could tell me this?
You go for it.
I'll say something about it. I think the benefit is the canonical ecosystem and also Juju. Juju does a lot of amazing works where it allows you to change configurations for one application, and like the charms can then, related charms can then propagate that change in different places, makes day-to management a lot easier. The whole user experience of Juju is quite simple. Like anyone who is comfortable with a CLI can realistically use it. Like you just do like Juju add model, Juju deploy, and like all of the things are already there for you to use. And you don't have to worry about, well, how I'm going to put this application in a container or in a machine. And also we have a lot of other charming teams that is working on different projects, and it's like what the integration, observability integration that we have, we get to benefit from works that our colleagues do, and we can integrate that into the Keepflow product that you use.
Yeah, just adding tiny little things. I think the upstream project provides, there wouldn't be Charmed Kubeflow without Kubeflow. The upstream project provides a lot of value, and what we're focusing on is either adding little values around that core product that we think are important or missing, or I think more importantly, making it easier to actually use Kubeflow. It kind of goes back to why I was in this sort of field of work in the first place, where you could be a user of Kubeflow or you could be an administrator of Kubeflow, and if you wanted to be both, that takes a lot of your time. And so Charmed Kubeflow is trying to make it much easier, lower the bar of entry, let's say, for actually getting access to Kubeflow.
I think this has been a very nice presentation, and I'm here to say that we do follow the upstream project roadmap, and we aligned with it, but we do use the charms, and we do contribute to the upstream project as well. We think it's important to give back to the community and to stay an open source project. I'm scrolling now to the questions, and I'm very grateful that we have so many. We will try to answer to all of them right now or after that in a follow-up blog post. But I see one that is really addressing pipelines, and it is very simple. If we upgrade to Kubeflow to Charmed Kubeflow 1.6, will the old pipelines be working?
Yeah, so they're at the moment. So I would say it's a topic that's deeper than just a quick live stream. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in this to go to the Kubeflow docs, specifically on the Kubeflow Pipelines part of the docs, and there is a V2, a Pipelines V2 explainer that really highlights exactly what's going on. Right now, things really shouldn't be noticeable, but if you want to keep doing pipelines the way you have been, you should be fine. But it would be good to start thinking about about the future and looking at the compatibility, like there's some future. Basically, you can use the future features now for the pipelines SDK, and in the future, while they're really focusing on making sure that things are backwards compatible, I think it would be good to at least keep your eye on what's being changed in future versions, just to know exactly where something might, some of your pipelines might actually need to change. And generally speaking, too, the things that could be breaking in the future, they're probably things that would be nice to use now anyway, and a lot of them are available. So it's definitely good to just take a look at what they're doing.
I just shared in the common chat the documentation that you mentioned, as well as the upgrade guide. It's worth mentioning that if you were a user of Charmed Kubeflow 1.4 and you want to upgrade, we have it documented already. I realize that the message is mixed a bit, but I think they're still understandable. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Natasha, Andrew?
Maybe I can just say I did see a question towards the bottom there that was asking whether or not pipelines was aligned with what's going on upstream. And yes, our pipelines, the product we have for Charmed Kubeflow in pipelines is aligned with what's happening upstream.
This sounds great to me. Thank you for answering this. For all the other questions, we will come back with a blog post that answers to them together with Andrew, Natasha, Dominic, Daniela, and the rest of the engineering team. We are a bit bigger than that. We will all meet and align on answering the questions. If you do have topics that you would like to cover, maybe in a future live stream, please share your feedback with us. We are reachable and open to meet again, maybe in a wider group, why not, and discuss about Charm Kubeflow and how we could make it better. Thank you, Natasha, and thank you, Andrew, for everything.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.